Yep.
All right, folks, I got 7:30. I'm going to go ahead and call the meeting to order. Thank you, everybody, for coming. We'll start by taking attendance. John?
Yes.
Ellie?
Yep.
Stephen?
Here.
Mark is absent, but I know he let me know why, so. Sal? Here. Michael Reese?
Here.
Mike Sampson?
Here.
Karen?
Here.
And I am here. All right. First, I believe, we only have the minutes from the 4th to approve. We approved the 3rd at the last meeting, I believe, right? So, and those were sent around. Do we have any additions, changes, edits, or anything to those meeting minutes? No? All right, well, I'll entertain a motion to accept the minutes as written.
Motion to accept.
All right,
For which?
the last meeting.
Okay, I just want to make sure.
We got a motion. I'll second it. Any further discussion? All right. Actually, I should say, we don't have any members participating by Zoom, so we can just, all those in favor? Aye. Opposed? Any abstentions? Ellie abstains? All right. So we left the last meeting having gone through the budget. We looked at the revenue. We decided to not vote to accept the revenue projections at last meeting, so I thought before we get into it, and we also didn't approve the budget. But since that's, I guess it's Article 4, we can do that here, but we're still working off the revenues that were presented last time. Does anybody have any further discussion or comments on those revenues? Yes, Mike.
I pointed out a couple of times, there should be a line in there for revenue from the library trustees in support of the overall appropriation. It's gross budgeted on expense, and they're supposed to return to the general fund what they have as their normal grants. In the paperwork I saw that was handed out yesterday, it looks like it should be a minimum of $15,000, and maybe more than that. But there should be $15,000 that's in there. And then the other question is on the expenditure for the skid steer. Is there any particular reason why that's not coming out of the non-lapsing account? Because that would be 20,000 less on the tax rate.
I don't know the answer to that.
It was in the CIP and just, it's a capital reserve, my understanding was there's capital funding for that. For the skid steer.
Yeah, but it's gotta have a warrant article to remove it from the non-lapsing recycling account at the transfer station. So that would show it's a revenue item of $20,000.
So the voters of the trustees of that fund,
Notice of the trustees, and there is a warrant article to come.
then that's the revolving revenue. fund.
Yeah, I don't know, but I can text or send an email out what the actual title is, but that's it.
But some of the other revolving funds, the Selectmen are the trustees.
Not, I guarantee it, this one is done by voters.
That's what I thought.
And so that would be a difference in revenues of 20,000 from the non-lapsing recycling revenue account and 15,000 from the library grants that they receive in support of that overall budget. And let's see. If those are the only two, so.
How do we go about adding those in here? Can we just?
You make,
If I look at Article 19, unless I'm missing something, Article 19 on page 6.
And that is of your handout, Jack?
Yes.
Okay.
Said funds to come from the transfer station non-lapsing fund established in 2008 for this purpose.
Good, so that means it's still ought to go on the revenue statement. So you need to add to the revenue budget, which is the $1,984,875. 20,000 from that account and 15,000 from grants received by the library trustee.
So who's gonna handle that? Carry in. And is there warrant articles that need to go with that, Mike?
No.
We've got it. It's in
We've
there.
already got it. Thank you.
That's Article 19.
Thank you.
Okay,
And I'm sorry, this is the first time.
No, I understand.
No, that's fine.
so we're gonna add, with two separate lines that are gonna be added, is that correct?
We can track it that way.
Okay. So you making a motion, Mike?
Yeah.
Okay,
I'll second.
I'll second that. All right. Any further discussion on that? All right, so the motion and the second is to add two line items under revenue, one for the money from the library for $15,000. And the other for the skid steer,
Yeah.
20,000
Yes.
for a total increase of $35,000. Okay. And then, so the bottom line then be another 35,000 added to this. So that would be what, 2 million? Does anybody have a calculator?
$2,019,875.
2 million,
19,000.
Yep, $875.
all right.
And that's non-tax revenue, right?
It's non-tax revenue.
Okay.
All right, so any further discussion on that? All those in favor to that amendment? Say aye. Any opposed? All right, ayes have it. All right, so that changes the bottom line of the revenue. Do we have any other comments, questions, changes to the revenue?
I just have one comment, Carrie, and one of your comments, and it's a valid thing to do, in my mind, is to. To conservatively estimate revenue items, and that's what you've done here. Considering where we are in terms of the amount of increase we're going to be looking at, are there any items here that we might revisit, from a projection standpoint? That would make a difference?
Like I put my best back into it.
I know you did.
Committee wants to change something and, but also if we end up not collecting that revenue, then we're in a tough spot next year.
Sure, no, I understand. I was just asking if there's any items on there that. Motor vehicle tax looks a little light, Michael.
It's just a comment. And I'm not recommending we change it at all. It's just a comment. In the past practice has been not to count the redemption revenue. Because we always get our tax revenue regardless of whether taxes are delinquent or not. And the true up is that we don't count the redemption revenue. So that offsets when we don't get all the taxes in. So let's say we're supposed to collect $10 million and we collect $9,950,000. Okay, we're short 50 grand overall in the accounts. But we always get money in the redemptions, and it tends to keep pace with the redemptions. So in the past, we've never counted it. We are counting it this year. For a reason you can't count it that I know of. I double check. But if you do that, remember that you got that it could bite you when you see your revenue in the following year. Because it was already spent when you paid the tax bill to the school and to the county. That money was already spent. So it's just a comment. It's a warning, whatever it's worth. But it's in there. It's 250,000.
So just to be clear, your concern there is that
My
we
concern
might be
is it's not
overestimating.
money.
Yeah, we might be overestimating. Okay. Right, good. Just wanted to raise it up.
No, leave it alone. It's
Yeah,
not my
fine.
fault.
Good.
All right, does anybody else have any comments on the revenue? So I guess I will make a motion that we accept the revenue as amended in our prior vote.
I'll second that.
All right. Any further discussion? All those in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? All right, ayes have it. All right, so Carrie Ann sent out the default budget based upon what, we didn't take a vote on the final number, but we'll do that now. I'm sorry, go ahead.
Oh, we don't vote on the default.
No, but I'm just saying, she sent it out. based on what I anticipate are going to approve as the proposed budget. And it looks like, I guess, how do we want to do this? We vote, moving on to warrant articles, the budget committee votes to recommend or not recommend only those warrant articles involving money.
Well, Article 4 is, half of that warrant article is cuts. So that amount, the amount is at the bottom of the, first paragraph. That amount we need to vote on first.
Yeah.
To make sure that's the amount we want to put in that article. And then we vote recommend or not recommend. And then we can move on all the other articles and just recommendations. We have no control over any other warrant article except that one. As far as I know. Okay?
Oh,
Understand what I'm
Yep,
talking
I
about?
understand. So it sounds like what we'll need to do is, since even though we worked through the budget last time, we didn't vote on a bottom line number.
Total. That's what's important, because
Yep.
that's what needs to go to DRA from us.
And so this total here, this $5,266,712.99 is the bottom line number of, correct, the bottom line number of the budget that we worked through and ended up on last time. That's correct, right, Carrie Ann? So that's our number after all of our sessions here. And so I entertain a motion to accept that as the budget committee's proposed budget. Anybody?
I'm just checking my number. I'm just checking my number.
We only worked on it for 4 months.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You'll make, okay, so Mike Reese is making the motion, and John, you gonna second it? All right. Do we have any further discussion on that bottom line number?
We don't have to like it.
Yeah, yes, Mike?
Just a comment that it increases the need for property taxes by $539,681. And that represents an increase of the tax rate of $1.18 based on the current assessed valuation, or 18%.
But that's 18% of the town rate, not the total.
18% increase over of the total. The rate increase is 18% of what the rate was in 2023.
We don't know what the school's gonna do.
No, because we have enough problems with the town.
No, and it's misleading to say that.
No, I said town tax rate.
Oh,
And what I'm looking at is town tax rate.
public comment.
Yes, Dan?
Hello, thanks, guys. So I had a question on, I don't have the same sheet you do because it was kind of tidied up today, so my apologies if it's not the right number, but on mine, it's Article 10, use of capital reserve and taxation for the library repair. And a question I was wondering is, it seems as though if we're trying to put a $50,000 into the capital reserve fund between two different avenues to do that. So I guess my question is, why don't we think about paying that $93,500 that is going to come from taxation and take that from that fund? If we did that, we would remove the $187,000 from that fund. And I understand we don't want to draw it down, very low, but that would still leave $60-some thousand in it. And that is a way to alleviate almost $100,000 of additional taxation this year on a tough year. I don't know if that's something that we can maybe consider again, or what your thoughts are. I just happened to notice it earlier when I was reviewing it. Thought I'd bring it up.
Ellie, did you have a question?
I don't, you have to find me because I don't have the spreadsheets because I can't print them out. But my recollection is that that's not part of the operating budget, so I don't know why that's not relevant to this warrant article as far as I can understand. That's an item.
Mike?
I haven't seen this until tonight, so Article 13 there. So I do have a question in the paperwork from Terry Ann that indicated there was going to be a warrant article of 93,000 change. And I haven't read this, so can without reading it, can somebody tell me, it says the vote to raise appropriate sum of 187. And authorize the withdrawal of 93,000 from government buildings, I got that. And so we're gonna raise, okay, so that's what it is to raise the balance from general taxation, which is. It is, in essence, this is a combination, so it's a combination to take money out of capital reserves. And also to raise and appropriate an additional 93,000 in tax revenue. So that's what the number I got from Carrie Ann, that's all it's checking.
So Dan's question really relates to Article 13.
Yeah.
Doesn't relate to the operating budget, which is Article
Well,
4.
that's why I suggested.
Yeah, I just want to make sure we weren't appropriating out of taxes on anything except.
So Dan, your question is good, but we gotta talk about it when we get to 13.
I just want-
But we're not, and we Saturday, I thought we were in the budget, but.
I know, we're on.
We're not there yet.
Yeah. we're trying to get rid
That's
of
the point, is,
Okay.
it's a topic for future consideration here.
Yeah.
Reason I mention it now is because I wanted to not miss a chance before that total amount of the budget was voted in case we needed to remove something somewhere. So, yeah, John, if you could kind of give me a cue when it is time.
Wake
So
it
you-
up.
what
We'll
you're
wake you
saying-
up, it'll give you-
I'm not, but what you're saying is when you guys vote to approve or not approve that, that's my time to talk about that warrant. Correct?
Right, and this time, if you wanna cut something out of the operating budget,
So that's what I'm saying. I guess if someone knows more about the process or than I do, please clue me in. But if we did that, would that cut money out of the operating budget? It would
No.
not, correct? Both of those things.
No, it doesn't change the operating budget, Dan. It doesn't change the 5,266,000.
Understood. Absolutely. Yep. Okay. Thank you, guys. I'll bring it up.
Thanks, Dan.
Yep. Thank you.
Any other questions or discussion? All right. So we have a motion and a second on the floor. And this is for the bottom line budget number. I guess I'll go ahead and take a vote. I'll roll call it. So John,
yes.
Ellie,
No,
Stephen,
Yes.
Mark's not here, Sal,
Yes,
Mike Reese,
Yes.
Mike Sampson,
Yes,
Karen,
no,
and I am a yes. All right, so that
5-2, don't you got? 5 in favor, 2 opposed.
6-2, 6-2 and 1, no vote.
you really can't count Mars as an extension.
This is the guy who did the budget, can't
This is, who was in 6-5? I was trying to
Me.
think. Oh, of course.
Oh, wait.
Right.
One
Chairman
hour.
gets a vote.
he does.
6-2, okay.
All right, so. Then I guess, we'll go ahead and move on to the warrant articles, and it looks like for our purposes, we'll be starting with Article 4. Which is the general fund appropriation. Do you want me to just go through and read these? And then contain a motion to consider, and then roll call votes? Yes, Mike?
just for information purposes, I read some of the wording in here, which looks a little strange. Has any of this been submitted yet in draft to DRA? Because this all has to go into DRA electronically, and they have to review and approve it. When is the deadline, when this has to get posted? It's like the 20th or something.
The Thursday, the 29th is the last day for the budget committee to deliver the budget and warrant article recommendations to the governing body for posting. Thursday, January 25th.
Okay, so just pointing out that if they don't like it, they change it. period.
right.
Or you gotta change it, otherwise they'll disallow it. So I'm just trying to figure out where we are in the process.
Right. Right, we just got these legal back.
This is a draft.
Yeah, we just got them back from the attorney this afternoon, so.
Okay.
Okay,
So whatever you want to do. Well,
So it may change the wording. I'm not know if
Yeah,
it
but we're
change
gonna
the subject or
ultimately-
the amount.
we need to do approval somewhere in this process. So if it gets changed like on the 28th before it goes up, we gotta get an approval somehow into the system.
Brandon,
Which means probably tomorrow night, we ought to recess our hearing until
I'm not going-
something like the
oh, I
28th.
see. This way we could resume it if we have to.
Yeah,
Yeah, don't close the hearing tomorrow.
Okay,
well, yeah, we gotta have a hearing.
Yeah, but don't close it.
Right, don't close it.
Don't
No,
close
you,
it.
right.
Then we can keep, then we can meet again.
I
Okay,
gotta-
So are you waiting for a motion? Is that what you're doing? Did you go?
oh, no, we haven't got to that point yet. So you want me to read? So I was thinking proceed. Does anybody want me to read them or do we just want to read them ourselves? All right, that'll save some time. All right, so Article 4, General Fund Appropriation.
I would just think if you just, mention the amount,
Okay,
that in the purpose.
Yep.
I think that's sufficient. And that way it'll be in the minutes and it'll be on the recording in case there's, any argument about what we've done.
Okay.
Okay?
so I'll go ahead and,
Thing, the amount and the purpose.
okay, so I'll do that and then I'll entertain a motion to consider it for discussion and then we'll take a roll call vote on whether we recommend or not. All right. So Article 4, General Fund Appropriation deals with the proposed budget with a total of $5,266,712.99. And mentions, well, we can't change the default budget, but it mentions that it would be $4,804,270.23. I'll entertain a motion.
So moved.
All right, do we have a second?
Second.
All right, do we have any discussion on this warrant article?
This is the one you just got a 6-2 vote, right?
We're just gonna vote on again.
Yeah.
We gotta vote on it as a warrant article before we just accepted our budget.
Oh, I see, okay,
Yeah,
got it, got it.
We're
Right, got it.
voting on the amount.
Let's see if anybody changes their mind.
Yeah.
Got it, understood.
all right,
Yes, it's gonna.
Mike.
Just a regular point, 18% increase.
Yep.
In tax. Go ahead.
All right. All right, well, I'm gonna go ahead and, the question is, do you recommend this? And so I'll take a roll call. John,
Yes.
Ellie,
No,
Stephen,
Yes.
Sal,
Yes,
Mike Reese.
Yep.
Mike Sampson,
Yes,
Karen,
no,
and I'm a yes, so it's the same vote, all right? The Budget Committee recommends, what do we have, 6-2?
how do we not record, Mark as as an abstain, or we just 6-2?
Is not present, so there's no vote.
So it's just a 6-2.
Yeah. All right. Article 5, to raise and appropriate the sum of $290,866.10 for water and sewer, with $162,005.72 to be raised and appropriated for water, and $128,860.38 to be raised and appropriated for sewer. Entertain a motion for consideration.
so moved.
All right, we have a second.
Second.
All right. Any discussion?
I had a question.
Yes.
I- For 3 or 4 years now, when we discussed this part of the budget, we realized that the user fees aren't covering the expenses, right? We just touched on it. So has the select board, last meeting. I It's in couldn't really- process. Yeah, okay, I couldn't really hear over the Zoom. I didn't know you were gonna address it. Okay, thank you. I'm set.
All right, great. Any other questions, comments? All right, let's take a roll call. It's Article 5. John,
Yes.
Ellie,
no,
Stephen,
Yes.
Sal,
Yes,
Mike Reese,
Yes.
Mike Sampson,
Yes,
Karen,
yes,
and I'm a yes. So that is 7-1. All right, the equipment lease with fiscal funding clause. I haven't had a chance to read this yet, so I'll give everybody a chance to read it. Yeah, Article 6.
You're gonna define what an escape clause is?
I figured that would happen maybe in the explanatory notes. We could certainly add something here if you want.
I mean, the normal thing we're gonna say, this lease may be canceled
Yeah,
by the voters in any given year.
yeah, yeah, I think it's technically from what I read in the law, I don't know if it's still current or not, they call it something else nowadays, if I remember correctly. Is it like a non-renewal clause or something to that effect? I'm not sure that this is, I mean, I know what it means, but, that's the term we used to use, but I'm not sure.
Well, the attorney went over this, so that's,
Okay,
he likes this,
that's fine, he's okay with
the
it.
DRA may like a different thing.
Yeah.
but
so I-
I know,
but-
I mean,
but I
is
just
it-
think it's-
There's a grade school graduate. Just looking at it.
Right.
So.
So the total sum of lease payments for the duration of the lease term and if appropriations are authorized for each year.
Right.
Shall total 1.187,196.08.
And that includes the first year too, I did the math.
Okay.
So it includes that amount too.
That's fine.
So you have to reappropriate it, but it shouldn't go into default, if I understand it correctly, because it's not no longer a long-term obligation. So it shouldn't go into default. Because that's how the government is having a public hearing.
You?
Just to clarify some other confusion on the grader, should you strike the model number on that? So just the grader, just like if backhoe reads backhoe one time dump truck.
I would be in favor of that. I think it's important that taxpayers know they're gonna buy a grader. But as to the particular model, I think that might be a little too detailed. I left it in there.
Model you want.
Yeah,
You don't even know what brand it is.
I'm happy to strike that. That gets a little too granular. You want to be forced into a specific model. I mean, if they stop making it, then you can't buy the grader at all. So,
Now, just a process question, if anybody knows, do we have the authority to change the wording at this session? We do not, do we?
well, I would seek the concurrence of the Board of Selectmen. I mean,
It's like when they actually do the change.
Yeah, okay.
Well, they don't have a quorum, so.
Oh,
well, we don't,
they got till the end of the month.
they've already approved this, but we can always change it because there's still time.
I know you guys are money stuff, but Jack's here and Steven's here, so it's something they can please be brought up here.
Yeah.
It doesn't change the purpose of the amount, so it's just a.
And Steve, do you have any objection to that, Stephen?
Not at all.
Dan, do you have any objection to that?
I do
Dan?
not.
Is it gone?
He said no, he doesn't have any objection.
No.
He's there.
Yeah, he's there.
No, thank you, so it'll be fine. Okay. Regardless of what city's got, I don't mind. Michael?
The voters have the right to make changes as well.
Sure.
Right.
Delivers.
Yeah.
You just can't wipe that out.
You just can't change anything between the, public hearing and deliberative session. If you don't change before tomorrow night, then you gotta wait till deliberative session.
Well, we got to the end of the month to change.
Yeah, as long as we recess.
Yeah.
Well, the
Right, that's right,
the wording is actually, like,
Yes,
yeah,
their part, yep,
right.
exactly. But theoretically, if they change it like the 26th,
we might change our opinion.
we get, yeah,
Exactly, exactly.
and that's all we have is an opinion. We don't change it.
It's not terribly substantive, so it's not a big deal,
It's not your, really, though.
because nobody actually knows what it means.
They don't-
Somebody does.
Nor do I, somebody does, you don't.
I think it's-
Well, again, I'll make a motion that for discussion on Article 6, I guess just for the minutes to reflect the expectation that the greater model be struck.
That's fine. With the concurrence of.
The concurrence of the select board, the governing body.
That motion.
That's a motion.
Second,
All right. Any further discussion on this? Yes, Mike?
Wouldn't do it.
Wouldn't do what?
Because you haven't won the meeting of the Board of Selectmen that are saying it's okay to do it. This is the authority of the Board of Selectmen. They know what we want. We all agree. It's the right thing to do. Let the Board of Selectmen do their job. Let's not make it worse for the Board of Selectmen, which we could be doing if we went ahead and did. It's Wouldn't be legal for us to do it, it wouldn't be legal for them to do it, without warning. Now, they could, you have a hearing tomorrow night with us?
We did not sign up for that, but we could make it happen.
I mean, theoretically, in the past, it's been warned as a separate selectmen's meeting.
They didn't
Thursday.
have a meeting, at least not when I checked it, and they didn't, and tomorrow either, that I could find. I haven't checked dinner something, but yeah, so it's, well, it's a public hearing, so I was curious about that myself. If it's a public hearing, I don't know if technically it's necessary.
I
You
don't,
know,
I don't think it is.
anybody can come to a public hearing, but
Right, because it's your public hearing.
Well,
It's the
Yeah.
budget committee's. public
In the
hearing.
past, we did have the select board there, and they
Yeah.
did make motions to change their items.
yeah.
Because they had warned it as a joint hearing,
Right,
and then they met as immediately after the budget committee met to ratify or whatever. They could also recommend if they wanted to recommend at the same time.
yeah, they almost all.
There is some reason to do that. I don't care whether you do it or not. I'm just saying what I wouldn't do is I wouldn't put into a record something indicative that a majority of the board of selectmen approved this tonight.
No, we can't do that.
Yeah, we haven't done that.
So get rid of it and
I
just.
don't think we're doing that. I think.
Yeah.
We'll just make a note
The
of it.
recommendation.
We'll make a note of it.
Right.
Yes, you.
Well, the only reason I really bring that up is when you start talking these dollars, that has to be put forth into this. Like somebody made a comment about that they changed the decision because when you start talking model numbers and stuff and these equipment, it could be a big change in the dollar amount like that. So that has to be put out there. I realize you guys are the budget numbers people, but further down the road, that could change your
Yeah.
decision on that needs to be put out to the public. What they're buying.
So do we want to vote on this article tonight as written?
Yeah, we
should vote on the dollar value and
And the purpose,
The intent, okay.
Yeah,
the purpose and the dollar.
If you don't change the dollar amount, I think our recommendation was safe.
yeah. We could vote again tomorrow night, so if we have to.
So there's a motion, anybody second that?
Well, the motion you had. If you
You have a motion to-
Because you got a lot of stuff in there that you really don't need in there. All we need to do is approve the.
A motion to recommend. That's what you do.
No, I'll withdraw my motion then. I'm gonna stop making motions, so you guys can do it.
There you go.
Yeah, that's right.
Somebody needs to
Bueller?
make a motion.
You need a motion. So you do need to make a motion to recommend Article 6.
Okay, Karen's making a motion and,
I'll second that.
all right. John?
Yep.
Ellie?
No,
Stephen?
Yes.
Sal?
Yes,
Mike Reese?
Yes.
Mike Sampson?
No,
Karen?
Yes.
And I'll vote no.
But we,
that's fine with you.
maybe a 5-3.
Eric,
Mine's got,
Dennis.
no. We only have 9 members. Yes.
Mark is not here,
we don't have,
Dennis died.
and Dennis passed away.
That means not.
One's absent.
That's nine.
One absent
here.
brings it down to 8.
so that was
Five.
5.
5 plus 3 equals 8, good boy.
I in this game, I can only.
It's a soft crowd tonight.
Yeah.
I think it's too late for us, the 7:30 business, I think.
I only know how to divide by 3.
Let's do it.
5, every day.
All right, so moving on to Article 7. See the vote, town will vote to raise appropriate sum of $100,000 for funding the expansion of anticipated paving projects.
Vote to recommend.
All right,
Second,
all right. Any discussion? Ellie?
Yeah, as far as I know, we don't have, didn't know we had a public works department. I think that should be the highway
It
department.
has been changed and the
draft last night, it's just the lawyer.
Oh, okay.
messed it up.
Because it says highway in the.
It is highway. Right, see, it's highway department down below, it's.
Yeah, that's what I thought, okay, that's.
I would just think that's.
Okay. As long as it's consistent,
No.
that's what matters.
Mike?
Two questions. I'll make the first one because it'll be the strangest part. So we're not commenting, theoretically, we're not commenting on the language. But I don't understand why we start with vote to raise and appropriate, which is an appropriation. And then it says this article speaks in this form to gauge the interest of the voters. If Sean wrote that, he's out of his mind, because you can't have language
No,
that is
you're right.
an appropriation at the same time, oh, we just want your interest.
No, advisory
So
one.
I just pointed out, and then the other comment is, I'm gonna vote against this one because we went from $200,000 a year for road reconstruction 2 years ago to $250 last year, to $400,000 this year, which represents, as near as I can tell, 2.5 to 3 miles of paving. So I think that this is overreaching to go up to 500,000, which would be 2.5 times what the dollar amount was 2 years ago. And I agree we need more money. I agree we need to increase the speed in which we're doing the paving. But 500,000 is overreaching, and I make clear it's 400,000 for paving if this passes. Well, what is the other 100 for dirt road reconstruction? Because we don't pay attention to that correctly. I'm still opposed to going up that much of an increase.
Well, we haven't got to vote yet.
You wanna phase it in over 2 years, fine, and I will actively oppose the vote if they vote in this section in general.
Yeah, the intent is to, we have roads specifically that we're intending to pave?
Yeah, that's my big,
Next year, South Road.
that's
be
my.
completed.
Okay,
that's
and
my
how
big-
long is that? How big
It's
a,
actually over 2 months.
and how big was the Grafton Turnpike job?
2 months.
And we paid 400,000 to an outside contractor for that job there, right?
Correct.
Yeah, okay. So in order to comparable, roughly, we need 400,000 to do South Road. Is that
Correct.
what's going on?
Yep.
Okay.
The thought of the attorney, just to kind of address Mike's comment about the language, was he felt it would be helpful to make it a little more palatable for the voters to understand
DRA doesn't like that.
what that was all about.
Yes, you have DRA license.
DRA doesn't like that stuff. I know from training that they don't.
Yes, Mike?
Still opposed to the $100,000.
Okay.
I still think it's overreaching. I think there's enough money in there to do the 2.5 miles. I am opposed to all sorts of things that have been said. From that we have 50 miles of paved road that we have to do, that we haven't done a third of them. We've done 55%, 60% of the roads in the last 12 years. So I'm just totally opposed to the overreaching. I will oppose it.
Yeah, we understand.
I'm happy with 400,000, which I think is a significant increase by anybody's standard.
You get to vote, Mike.
I know. On the record.
Ellie, did you have a further comment?
So.
Has the
make sure
budget
it's on the
committee,
video.
has the budget committee as a whole been able to review the documents put
Hold on,
together?
Hold on, Dan.
Who's gonna do the paving? And my other big issue that I have with the highway department is at one time, many years ago, we used to have a plan. And I think it used to go through the planning board as to what their plans were to pave or reconstruct or whatever over the next however many years. And it's because people get upset because they see people's roads getting done before theirs. And I think there needs to be some kind of, not necessarily independent, but some kind of objective plan as to what you're gonna do in the next. Because one year they wanted to do a selectmen's road. So people voted against it because they thought that it was a biased decision, but I wanna know is, we short people in the highway department, and I don't understand, even if you have all the equipment, how are you gonna do this stuff? Unless you hire,
We don't do our own.
contractor to do it,
Okay.
so.
So we don't do our own paving, and this is what the warrant article is about, so, Ellie.
Dan Collins, did you have a comment?
I was curious if the budget committee as a whole have had a chance to review the documents that we put together regarding the previous paving that has been done over the last, 10 to 15 years or so. And that was one of the questions. And then I think regarding putting together a game plan for where we're going with the paving, part of what we've started to do was put some polls out there, get some feedback from the residents in the town of Canaan. And that's going to be a multi-part process. So yes, the first part of it, do you think we need to put more time, effort, and money into the roads? Overwhelming, yes. Then there's going to be more steps to what we're asking the community, and that's going to help us compile what we do with our game plan. But you have to understand, I hope, that we walked into no game plan at all. So, and I'm not saying that for any other reason except for the fact that it's true. We didn't have anything on, something to guide us through. So we're starting the process. That's our intent. It's a very equal amount of mileage from the Turnpike Road to South Road. And the process that we've done and will be completed on those two roads are very, very similar, right down to the culvert replacement and the ditching that needs to be done. So I think it's a very comparable price. And if we only have that 400,000, then our dirt roads are going to get neglected, and we're just going to be in a bind next year with having to come up more money. That's my comment.
Thanks. Take one more comment, and then we're gonna move the question.
Be here 15 minutes.
Mike.
I mean, this is really a hot button issue for me. So in the highway budget, we have manpower costs, so not being changed. You're not gonna take money out of one line and stick it into the manpower costs. We went up dramatically on culverts. We went up dramatically on gravel. We went up on all sorts of things on gravel roads. Point that out. I heard Dan say the sheets that were put forward on paving, I have no idea what those look like. I do know that I provided to the board of selectmen and to Jack and to this committee the spec sheets that went out on paving bids for the years that I was involved with the town. And I do recall that those sheets did indicate that in most cases where there was a complete road reconstruction, we did both base and top in those. And I have asked repeatedly for copies of the bids that were submitted on the paving for last year. Because I find it really interesting that the cost went to $400,000.
Well, even on any of the roads that you did in the previous 10 years, you didn't put down as much pavement depth as we did on. It's almost an inch difference, and mostly a good portion of it.
I don't.
Yeah, we're gonna move the question. Okay, so I'm gonna go ahead and we got a motion to recommend or not recommend. Take a vote. John,
Yes.
Ellie,
No,
Stephen,
Yes,
Sal,
Yes.
Mike Reese,
Yes.
Mike Sampson,
No.
Karen,
no.
and I'm a no.
So what is it,
It's a tie, 4-4.
Not recommended them.
I am.
There's no such thing as a tie. There's no such thing as a tie.
1, 2, 3, 4.
2 years ago, they were saying it's
All right.
I-
Moving on to Article 8. See if the town will vote to raise and appropriate $150,000 to be added to the fire truck capital reserve.
I'll make a motion.
Second. All right, got a motion and a second. Any discussion? Yes, Mike?
Yeah, I'm not wildly opposed to this, but I do think in light of the fact that we're going up by $500,000 on these warrant articles, that we could at least do it over 2 years. So we're moving from 85,000 to 150. I know we need the money. I would prefer that we move from 85,000 to 125. I know that only saves 25,000, but that's 1%. And right now, we're looking at a 22% tax increase at this. So I really, I'm opposed to the 150. I'm in favor of the 125, but I'm not in favor of the 150.
Ellie?
You can make a you can make a motion at deliberative session to change it.
Yeah,
We have to vote on what's in the article.
I'm just saying that I'm in favor of making sure the money's there for the fire truck, but I am gonna vote against it.
So the money won't be there.
That's what you said, but I also gave you a way that it could be there, you do it next year.
Point of order, Mr. Chair.
Yes.
I think this kind of exchange is unnecessary.
Noted. All right, gentlemen, we're gonna try to tighten it up a little bit. I know a lot of these issues have been hashed out at select board meetings and things like this, and so I do wanna
We need to get down to.
keep on track, so, we're
We
gonna,
don't have to justify our votes to
Yeah.
anybody for any reason.
well, that's what the deliberative session's for.
Right.
So, we're gonna move ahead. John,
Yes.
Ellie,
No. But wait, yes. Sorry.
you're a yes?
8, Ellie, capital.
150,000 for the fire truck?
Yes.
You're a yes? Okay.
Yeah.
Stephen,
Yes.
Sal,
Yes.
Mike Reese?
Yeah.
Mike Sampson,
No,
Karen?
If I abstain,
Yeah, you can.
I think I would like to abstain.
All right, and I'm gonna be a no.
All right.
Here we go.
So,
1, 2, 3, 4, 5 yes, 2 no, and 1 abstention.
So it's still recommended.
All right. Article 9, purchase the fire truck with funds from the fire truck capital reserved. See if the town will authorize the board of selectmen to withdraw and expend up to 585,000 from the fire truck capital reserve.
Motion to recommend?
Get a motion and a second. Do we have any discussion on this?
The paper doesn't recommend, doesn't indicate what the select board did here. Did they not vote on this yet?
Oh, yeah, they did. I'm sorry. It was 3
3
to
to 0.
3 to 0.
No, I just didn't put that in there.
Thank you.
Yes.
question. Well, you say there's not enough money. Is there not enough money to do the 585 if it's not 150? Or is there not enough money for there?
There is enough money when the 150 goes in.
Okay. Oh, but not unless the 150 goes in?
There's $540,000 in the fire department capital reserve
Right now?
now.
So if you put another 125, and there's more than enough. Okay, I just wanted to check. I'm not trying to stop this.
No,
from
I understand.
You understand?
Ellie?
Yeah, I wanted to go back to what you said. Is it necessary to be that specific? It won't affect my vote, I don't think, but it's something that I think should be thought about before deliberative session. I mean, I think the purpose is fine if we have some idea what that is. But I don't know, do we really need the brand?
Well, that is the brand that under which they'd intend to do a contract. So they have picked and scoped out a Alexis 16-foot walk-in rescue fire
So
truck.
if something happens and they can't buy an Alexis, then does the article lapse if they don't,
That
can't
would
get
be,
that one?
that would be correct, because my understanding is they've worked at this a long time.
Yeah,
And I think they're pretty certain that it's this one, or they'd have to reconfigure their entire thought process around what they want. Right?
you.
That fair?
That's correct.
Okay.
Basically, this is the one that's where be putting a proposal out to the general public, so they have the information that they need to expand on this. It will be with that vendor.
Mike?
If you talk to, will it take directions? You tell them to do your best.
It's like-
It's good for that one.
For Alexis, does that mean you can talk to it and tell it go
Yes.
to the fire, it'll go to the fire?
Yes, Alexa, put the fire up.
Right.
Matter of fact, everybody can.
Let's hope so, Mike. That would be
It does it.
fantastic.
It does it automatically.
There's more than the fire.
Okay, Karen?
We're gonna, this, it takes them 2 years to build it, is that what,
Yeah.
That's
is
correct.
that what this is saying?
yeah.
So
Do we give them the money up front in 2024, because it says it'll extend until the end of 2026?
yeah,
So is this this money
So-
has to come, 40, has to come out of the
Yeah.
fund now?
when we initiate the contract, we have to actually give them $149,600 to purchase the chassis on which this rescue vehicle will be built.
Okay,
Because it gets built in different phases. So the chassis comes from they manufacture the chassis and it goes to the fire Alexis for them to construct everything that's been designed into the rescue vehicle. So you have to buy the chassis first and then you pay for the rest of it.
But we're paying in increments, so
Well, you'll pay the 149,600 in order to buy the chassis, and then 2 years when you get delivery, you pay the balance of
so
the
why
actual
does the
truck.
tax rate in this year go up?
Because
Be-
Well, we need to know from the voters
That they're-
whether they approve a $585,000 purchase. Otherwise, we can't initiate a
That
contract.
I understand,
Yeah,
but so
Yeah.
what is the real,
So on article, I need to clarify that.
Yep.
I think I know she's looking at, she's looking at article 8. With the increase of that, and that same line is dropped down under article
Yeah,
9.
that's
which would
incorrect,
not
yeah.
be true,
you know, going, yeah.
Because
See
there
that,
wouldn't be any.
There's no impact to
taxation
taxes,
on the
it's coming out of
capital
capital
reserve out of
reserve.
that.
Oh, right.
And it's a 500.
That's a good point, yeah. No, that's a good point. That's just another correction.
Okay, right,
That's why we're doing this. Yeah.
So we're gonna have, so we, for this fire truck business, we'll have this,
Oh,
tax rate of 0.33 or $73.27.
Yeah, we'll correct
For
that
the-
wording so
for
that
the-
there's
the whole,
no impact.
Fire truck, okay, yes, okay.
Yeah,
Thank
yeah,
you.
no, it's a good catch.
Any other questions on this?
No.
Yes, Mike.
In the past, we've also looked at. Stock trucks that are on the market for a particular year. This one looks like it's gonna be custom designed, usually the cost is significantly higher. Did we attempt to see if there was something available that was comparable before we did a custom, or maybe you can tell me that it's not a custom?
We actually went through E1 as our first, because a lot of our trucks are E1. Their basic stock of it with just a few modifications and not giving us the four-wheel drive option, the truck and the pump size that we're looking for, because that's the other change we've made. We put a tank and a pump on this thing. Especially with the limited manpower we have during the day. Their price at the end of the day, what they told us up front when we first started looking at this was roughly 615,000. Coming from a big manufacturer, E1, who is Web Group, they have 10 different options in there. So yes, it was looked out to have basically kind of a stock truck. option. And with the manufacturer, they are actually, the vendor, or sales rep is actually over in Ossipee. And they've given us a lot more, well, expect that a lot more truck with some customization for a lot less money in price. In the end of the day, we did look at a couple different vendors.
All right, thank you. I'm gonna go ahead and move that question. John?
Yeah.
Ellie?
yeah,
Stephen?
Yes.
Sal?
Yes,
Mike Reese?
Yes.
Mike Sampson?
Yes,
Karen?
Yes,
And I'm a yes.
okay, so that's the minimum.
All right, Article 10. See if the town will raise and appropriate $200,000 to be added to the highway equipment capital reserve.
move to recommend.
All right, any discussion? No, all right, we'll go ahead and vote.
whatever happened to
Oh,
the
sorry.
times when we used to appropriate to these capital reserves from undesignated fund balance? We don't have any of that this year?
No, we don't have enough.
Okay.
That's why, if I understood correctly, yeah, we have some, but we don't have what the DRA thinks we should have, is that correct?
That is correct.
Okay.
Longing for that language will not affect the tax rate, you know? No.
Yeah,
No.
so that's that. Back, we had this discussion before, right, about where we had our reserves. And we're putting the reserve in a different place now. And we're holding back from the undesignated fund balance. We're keeping more in that or putting it in something else, whatever you call it.
I'm trying to build it up a little bit.
I think they recommend like $1 million, that's a certain percentage of your tax base.
Well, yeah, right, and we haven't done that for a long time.
A lot,
I
yeah.
think it's supposed to have like $1 million at least.
It's a percent of
Okay.
the,
Yeah, it's a percent of the tax base, so the bigger your tax base, the more you're supposed to
No, I
have.
No, that's a good question. So what do we have? I mean, we did discuss it, but what is our unreserved fund balance currently? 500,000 or so?
Yeah, the tax rate that we just set in November, it was slightly over 500. With that tax rate. We
Okay.
need to collect that, hold on to it through the end of this year, not spend it, and then still go higher till we meet the DRA standards. Because we're still not meeting it.
Okay.
Do you know what the DRA standard, what the number would be roughly?
Provided everybody was.
Yeah, you know, you do it.
About 25 years ago, you actually had an undesignated fund balance of about $2 million. And then you burned right through it and went into the negative. And you kind of bounced around maybe 5% of that.
But what's the,
So the 2022 was the tax rate that I printed and put in our budget at the beginning. So that one, the minimum recommended was 5% at 718,000. But the 8% retained is like the good spot to be in, and that's 1,148,810, and that was.
so we got a ways to go.
22 standard.
Yeah, okay.
Mike?
Yeah, there's a complete fallacy in that whole mess. There's a question, how much did we underspend the budget this year? And meaning in fiscal year 23, how much did we underspend the budget? How much did we have in excess revenue over what we expected in 2023? Those two numbers would get added to the 585,000 that you had available in October. How do I know that? Because you don't know what the numbers are going to be until after the end of the fiscal year. I'm saying that is an issue. That's issue number one. Issue number two is multiply 700,000 by 20. Tell me what you get.
1.4 million, or by 20?
Yeah. How about $14 million? So the number that you get from DRA is 5% of the total budget, including the schools, the county, the state, everything. And it's the most ridiculous number that I know of.
I think we discussed this at one of our meetings, didn't we?
And nobody's changed their mind, so I'm just raising it once again.
No, but I understand. I just wanna,
I didn't raise it, somebody else.
Do we-
raised it.
I'm just-
do we have any other further questions on this? I'm gonna go ahead and move it. Okay. So we're gonna vote. John,
Yes.
Ellie,
Yeah,
Stephen,
Yes.
Sal,
Yes,
Mike, Reese,
No,
Mike Sampson,
hang on,
Karen.
hang on, I'm sorry. I'd like to make it a yes.
Okay. Karen,
Yeah, well, we need this, yes.
and I'm gonna say no.
so that's 5-1.
7-1. All right. Article 11, to raise and appropriate $7,500 to be added to the non-lapsing transfer station special revenue account.
move to recommend.
Any discussion, Ellie?
Yeah, that's for this purpose. I'd like to know what that purpose is. It's a special revenue account, so I mean, what do we spend it on? I mean, the revenue account sounds like it's revenue, but if you want to spend money out of it, that's an expense. So to me, this seems like a rather vague article.
I could probably explain that because it's just a repeat from year to year.
Well, I would vote for it regardless, but that's part of my issue with it all along, is it doesn't say what the purpose is. I mean, you're gonna put this money in there, but what are you gonna do with it?
It's limited, Ellie. It's limited by the formation
It's
agreement.
still a vague, it's still a vague statement, irregardless. Okay, I'm fine. That's
All right.
all I-
Any other comments? All right, we'll vote. John,
Yes.
Ellie,
No,
Stephen,
Yes.
Sal,
Yes,
Mike Reese,
yes,
Mike Sampson,
No,
Karen,
No,
and I'm a no.
all right, not recommended then. 4-4.
We on to Article 12. So, okay, so because it involves money of the transfer, if it's approved, we do vote on it, right? We're establishing an account.
We gotta put money in it, it's
Yeah.
appropriation, so if you're putting money somewhere, it's an appropriation.
So it's appropriate, okay.
All right, move to recommend.
Any discussion? No, all right, we'll vote. John,
Yes.
Ellie,
No,
Stephen,
Yes.
Sal,
Yes,
Mike Reese,
Yes.
Mike Sampson,
Yes.
Karen,
Yes,
and I'm a yes.
Just to be clear. If this gets voted down, you won't be able to withdraw any money from capital reserve for any purpose, and other warrant articles that are tied to capital reserve will also fail. You understand that, Ellie?
Jimmy, for all capital reserve or just for government buildings?
The government buildings capital reserve.
Okay, good.
set up a special account for the library, I'll be all for it, and I won't vote for it the way it's written.
That's fine.
Because we got too much stuff. I mean, there's stuff in here we could pay cash for, if we would get rid of some of the stuff we have. We can't maintain what we have.
I don't.
And until you deal with that, I would spend it.
So what's on the question? Let's move
So
on to
we-
the next one.
We have a 7-1 vote on this. So we'll move on to Article 13. See the town will vote to raise and appropriate $187,000 for the repair and painting of the library and authorize withdrawal of $93,500 from the government buildings capital reserve fund created from that purpose. So, and $93,500, so half of it will be withdrawn from the capital reserve, the other half will be raised by taxation. Do we have a
Move to recommend.
move to recommend?
Second?
Second, discussion.
And
Yeah,
Daniel,
this unfortunately is on the previous warrant article. I just want to apologize. Not that that happens frequently. But that was a screw up that we collectively did, meaning the CIP committee, myself. Cindy Neely was part of it. We were all part of it. The original article that should have created this was back in 2017. It was discussed for 2 years. And somehow I left off the language to create it, just funded one that wasn't created. So I apologize. Nobody caught it. First time it was caught was issued. Now, you want?
You on 12 still, Mike?
What's that?
yeah,
No,
we
you-
went back to 12.
Yeah.
Oh, we did?
So this,
Well, he
so
just
all
wanted
this
to, he
does,
just wanted to tell us the
this
history.
is merely a corrective warrant
Yeah.
article to
That's
actually officially create the government buildings capital reserve fund, because by oversight, long time ago, it simply didn't happen. You've been putting money into it for the right purpose, in the right time, in the right way. This just forms it officially according to statute.
Okay.
So if you don't do this, you can't access the money.
Right.
Period.
So this was just an explanation of 12, but we do have a motion on the floor to
13.
consider 13.
Yeah.
Do we have any discussion on 13? Karen?
so if 12 doesn't pass, then you can't
We cannot
do 13.
That is,
If I got that right?
you do.
Yes, okay. Trying.
So
So
now's my,
you put $196,000 in this account. And you gotta formalize it, or you can't use it.
Yeah, that I understand.
Yeah,
Yes,
no, I
so-
said, I'm just kind of re-explaining it for Ellie, because I don't know why she would wanna. She gets it.
I don't ever, for the building fund, because we won't put it aside for the buildings that we absolutely need. You go out and buy other stuff.
but Ellie, this,
All right, well,
We have a motion and a second on Article 13.
Order, please. Order, please.
So do we have any comments on Article 13?
yes, please.
Okay, Dan.
I would just like to reiterate what I was discussing earlier. I think it is a way that we could potentially save $93,000 plus off taxation this year. I think if we have what will end up being potentially, or in all probability, will end up being about 260,000, give or take, in there. I think in a year where we're all doing our very best to figure out what we can shave off, I mean, I really think this might be a viable option. And Carrie Ann, how much of a percentage point is $100,000, please? Do you remember? I know we discussed it, and I have been searching frantically to see the paper we were looking at, but I can't find it.
The $100,000 was about 2%, because a $50,000 change would affect the percentage increase by 1%. So that was kind of like our benchmark on what we were.
Okay. That's right. And that was my thought process too. I just didn't want to speak without double checking with you. So there's a chance that just by this one piece right here, that we can cut it by upwards of 2%. So I would just really like everyone to just put some consideration into it. And
So
see if
Dan,
we-
can I ask you a question?
Please, yes.
If this were a deliberative session and you were gonna amend this article, are you saying you would simply strike the raise and appropriate 93,000 from taxation?
I believe that is correct.
Okay, I just want to understand the mechanics of what you're proposing. I know we're not doing that tonight, but I just want to understand for myself. What you're suggesting.
Correct. It would be to remove that language. Because I think, unless we would have to then replace that language, so we could withdraw the full amount that we would need, right? We still need to be able to reach that 187,000. So I don't know the mechanics of it. As far as the language that needs to be put back into the warrant article. We need to make sure that it would still.
Conversely, to Dan's statement, the board was split on this.
Yeah.
You know, we didn't want to strip out a good portion of the capital reserve fund for the government buildings. The other government buildings coming up that are going to be in need.
So if we did that, then there would be and we did what? It played out like, it would be like
60,000.
Yeah, okay. Mike,
And I agree, that's not a whole ton of money in the grand scheme of things. But with the amount of, with the little amount that we have traditionally spent on our buildings, I think by getting the library repaired and painted without any additional taxation could really boost some morale. And that's a consideration for why I would ask everybody to put some more thought into it.
thank you, Mike.
Yeah, that, by my calculations, that 100,000 would be 3.3%. It would reduce the increase by 3.3%.
So even better than Mike, if that is the case. I mean, I'm going to be honest with you.
We have a difference of opinion on how it's calculated.
Okay.
Right.
You can listen to either one.
Listening to my finance manager's numbers, and that's what I'll continue to do. But I do appreciate the fact that you're able to just sit there and back them in. And this one particular case, then, I say thank you because it makes my point even more.
All right, thank you. Any,
Yeah, how I worded the minutes on that issue, by the way, was they wanted to manage the fund so that they can work on multiple projects over time rather than use all the fund.
Mike
This
Reese?
is probably a question again for Dan and Stephen, but my understanding is the library roof is leaking, right? So if this doesn't get passed, how
So
will
the roof itself is not leaking, it's the hatch that has to be fixed and gets clear now.
okay.
So that's not, so the roof you're leaking is the senior center. That's a separate.
Right, okay. So I mean, I think Dan raises a great point, and that is if somehow you could, and I apologize for using the word sneak, but if you could get this through without raising taxes, you have a lot better shot at. You could definitely do the work and you took.
So yeah, the thought process when we split it was that the library is dear and dear to most people's hearts as a fire station, and the voters would vote. So that was the thought process.
And I see that side of it too. I mean, if that it may be something that the voters would approve easier. I mean, I still would advocate that we change the full amount, but I mean, if nothing else, could we adjust that amount so that we have an even $100,000 left in that account, and that may reduce that 93.5, by upwards of half, which would either be 1.7% or 1%, depending on whose math we're listening to.
So again, this is, Dan, I'll be a discussion at the deliberative section, and that's where it can be changed, so.
Okay,
Okay,
understood.
all right.
All right.
Well, I'm gonna go ahead and move the question.
Thank you, guys. I appreciate you even taking the consideration.
Thanks, Dan.
Yeah, there's two other questions. Can we take them?
Real quick, because the deliberative session is really the place to be. Yeah.
About that, about modifying it, so if as a member of the committee, if you
We
don't
can't modify
recommend
it.
it. If you basically wanna, if I wanted to take, the amount out of the, general, the government buildings capital reserve fund. If I really want to make that modification, how should I vote here tonight? That I recommend
We
this thing?
can't modify.
I know you can't
So we
vote.
just have to recommend, how do you feel about as it is worded?
Okay.
I think I understand your question, Karen. Because if you're thinking you're gonna make a motion at the deliberative session, you probably want it to be consistent with your vote here tonight.
Yeah,
And so I would say, I mean, you have to just vote how you think that would, if somebody were to ask you, you would say, well, I voted no there, but because I wanted to vote yes here on this. So I guess that's, or you could abstain. I mean, I guess that's sort of.
okay, thank you. Trying to be
Yeah.
fiscally responsible.
All right, we're gonna move on the vote. We do have a motion and a second on this, right? Okay. Do we?
John.
Okay, great. All right, John,
Yes.
Ellie,
Abstain?
Stephen,
Yes.
Sal,
Yes.
Mike Reese.
Yes.
Mike Sampson,
Yes,
Karen,
Abstain.
and I'm gonna say no.
Yeah.
So I got 1, 2, 3, 4.
I vote yes.
Six,
You get-
yes.
Do you want to change it?
Yeah, yes.
So it'll be, I'm a no.
611.
611.
You're no, so you're 611, sorry.
All right. Article 14. See the town will vote and raise and appropriate $232,706 for the purchase of an ambulance. And authorize withdrawal of all funds from the Emergency Medical Services Capital Reserve, the balance to purchase up to $182,349 come from the EMS revolving fund.
Motion to recommend?
second,
I got a motion and a second. Any discussion? No, all right, we'll go ahead and vote. John,
Yes.
Ellie,
Abstain?
Stephen,
Yes.
Sal,
Yes.
Mike Reese,
Yes.
Mike Sampson,
yes,
Karen,
Yes.
and I'm a yes.
701.
701, yeah. Okay. Moving on. See if the town will vote to establish a contingency fund for unanticipated expenses that may arise and further raise appropriate thousand to put in that fund.
Should recommend?
Second.
Right? Any discussion? All right.
they'll do for the schools. It's optional. Sometimes.
A lot of schools do something, not the majority.
You can do it, we don't have.
This is essentially creating a fund and just putting something in it to get it started, is what I view $1,000 as, right?
Right, see.
All right, we'll go ahead and vote. John,
Yes.
Ellie,
No?
Stephen,
Yes.
Sal,
Yes.
Mike Reese,
Abstain.
Mike Sampson,
Yes,
Karen,
Yes.
and I will say yes. 611. Yep. All right, Article 16. That's not, is that something we vote on?
well,
It's money?
Yeah.
Oh, it's a percentage.
So the tax rate doesn't have the tax rate, so I would imagine it would be.
All right. So having to do with collective bargaining agreement.
Intention of those adjustment.
Jack, we need to add the, financial impact too, right?
I did that, $1.88,
Oh, okay.
so 3 cents per thousand or $1.88 on a median home. Worth $223,050.
Okay. Sorry.
We're being assessed value.
Motion to recommend?
Any discussion?
It's all on the assessment.
Any discussion? All right. John,
Yes.
Ellie,
I'm abstaining because I haven't read it.
Stephen,
Yes.
Sal,
Yes.
Mike Reese,
Sure. Yes.
Mike Sampson,
Yes.
Karen,
Yes.
and I'm also going to abstain.
So 6 yes, 2 abstain.
Yep.
6-2.
602.
All right. See if the town will vote to discontinue the following unused capital reserves. And then there's a list. Okay, that's the question. So all that money, if it passes, will just go to the general fund, is that?
Now the government buildings capital.
Oh, right, jeez, keep reading, Nate.
So he gets established.
Right, up above. One that exists but doesn't exist.
Shadow.
Yeah, shadow account.
Motion to recommend?
Any discussion? All right, we'll vote. Yep, go ahead.
I was just, do we have the total? In there, I mean, that shows the individual funds, but I don't see an amount, for the total. And I don't know if that makes a difference legally or not. If you have to rate, I don't know if that matters. Because you're still, you're appropriating it to a particular fund. So I would think that you need to have the total that's supposed to go into that fund. That's just me.
Well, if you guys want to add the total, that'd be.
And I'm not gonna vote for it in any case, but
Oh.
I just think that.
I think they added it last night. I think they did it last night. That's what we did.
Yes, Mike?
Yeah, I wouldn't put the total in. I think the most important one, list them. It says shall pay any and all monies associated with. By the time this takes effect, it'll be up $3.40 for interest, so leave it alone, just leave it the way it's written, which is shall pay any and all monies associated with.
Any other comments, questions? All right, we'll vote. John,
Yes.
Ellie,
No,
Stephen,
Yes.
Sal,
Yes.
Mike Reese,
Yes.
Mike Sampson,
Yes.
Karen,
Yes.
and I'm a yes. 7-1. See, the town will vote to discontinue.
You don't vote on that.
Oh, right. Sweet. Moving on.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
19, yes.
Equipment purchase 19. Equipment purchase for transfer station, and see if the town will vote to raise and appropriate the sum of $20,000 for the purpose of purchasing a skid steer.
Motion to recommend?
Questions, comments? Mike?
Yeah, so we got the general fund budget. And I raised the issue that the money ought to come out of the non-lapsing account, that's fine. But if you approve this and you approve the general fund budget, you're double raising funds. You've got 20 that's in the general fund budget, and my only recommendation is, and because we can't touch the wording, is, either get rid of the 20,000 in the general fund, which I know everybody's gonna be loath to do. Or just point out that it's already in the general fund. But it's, right now, it's not gonna work, as you're gonna create, and I personally don't like just appropriating extra money for the health.
Ellie, did you have a comment on this?
Yeah, it's just, because it says non-lapsing fund. I'm just confused about the terminology. Is this the same non-lapsing revenue fund that we were talking about adding more money to in an earlier article?
Yes.
Because I think it's, I thought its title was evolving. But I thought that it was-
I don't know,
The terminology, if people know what we're talking about.
So we,
Are you saying that in the capital operating budget, there is 20,000 for the skid steer?
yes, there is,
In the transfer station,
yeah,
yeah.
so we don't need this if we have it in the,
well, it would help the taxpayers if you took the money out of the non-lapse,
right?
okay?
Right.
So get it out of the general budget is what you're suggesting.
Yeah, but it means you gotta go back and amend.
Okay, so that's not the end of the world, is it?
It's not the end of the world. And you ought to check the language, because we're playing loosey-goosey with the language, of what it's called. We're in a previous one.
Article 11 needs to have the same,
He's talking about, I mean,
account.
right.
Article 11 is called the transfer station special revenue account.
That's correct.
So is that what this
It's
is?
called, that's exactly what it's called.
So is this the same one?
Yes,
So in the treasurer report, would it be that? Because I can't find it anywhere else. It's not a copy of it.
It's not the recycle account, is it? You know, when I've.
it's a special revenue.
Transfer station,
How-
special revenue.
And it is, when it was created, it says from revenue from sale of recyclables.
So tell me where it is in the town report.
It's still.
It's called the recycle account there, but that's not what it was called in the creation. Okay,
Because I can't find it anyplace else. I just, like, I said, I can't find any of this stuff together because it's inconsistent names.
yeah. No.
That's all I need to know.
So this, just for the scrivener here.
Yeah.
It'll come out of the transfer station revenue.
Special revenue account.
Just to comment on that, the danger is, of course, it was, last year, and it got reduced to $1.
Yeah, okay, all right, well, that's good.
I don't wanna have JR cut my legs off when it gets amended to $1.
Won't be wearing a uniform, when he does it.
So, yeah, so we have 20,000 in the general fund budget for this, and now we have another 20,000 here.
That's what he's pointing out.
I understand. So how do we fix it?
You just did it. I mean, you just recommended it. So what you do is you get rid of the one in the general fund.
Okay.
Reduce the general fund by by 20, which reduces Article 2 by 20. Or, yes, Article 2. And then this one is what you need.
So that's right, so.
So we'll go to.
You'll vote, you'll revisit the vote on the bottom line budget, and then Carrie Ann can make a $20,000 adjustment, make a new total of Article 4. And you'll be fine. I mean, this is what you can do. This is your committee, so you get to change this. This is your time to change the operating budget.
Tomorrow.
Well, actually, you can change it for that.
You want to do it right now, or do you want to do it at the end of the warrant articles?
Why don't we-
No, I'm not, whatever.
Why don't we just do this warrant article right now?
If it's in there twice, there's no.
So the vote on this, just, I was in the restroom, is that if we recommend this, then the expectation is that the committee is gonna remove it out of the general. fund.
Correct.
Okay, so that we're no longer raising it twice.
Right.
Correct.
Thanks, catch, Mike.
Further discussion? All right, we'll vote. John,
Yes.
Ellie,
No,
Stephen,
Yes.
Sal,
Yes?
Mike Reese?
Yes.
Mike Sampson,
Yes,
Karen,
Yes.
and yes. So
So,
let's not forget to do that.
well, yeah, do we want to just do it now? and get
We can do it now,
Yep.
since we're thinking
All
about
right,
it.
I'll make a motion that we delete, change the line 0143244740 equipment to $0.
The $1.
$1,
If
$1.
it Yeah.
$1 to $1.
Well, you want, you
That's
don't
fine.
want it to go to 0.
$1.
That says you can't do anything.
I accept that, $1. Okay.
I'll second.
You got
Ah,
that.
So that changes your bottom line for the transfer station to 352,577.59.
And we changed the number to 352,577.59, and the bottom line for the general fund budget to
246,714,13.98.
0.99.
Yeah, I got it.
Yeah, 0.9.
5,246,713.99.
Yes.
246,713.99.
All right, I'll second that motion.
What was the transfer station total, please?
Three five two five seven 7.59.
3725.
You got 3577. 352,577.
Got it.
Okay, any further discussion on that? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Okay. Oh, yes, 1 no. And though I guess we need to redo our vote on Article 4 then.
That's correct.
Yeah. Although we can't amend Article 4, can we? We can, because it's ours.
Well, because it's your budget.
Yeah,
We're only
okay.
putting this in because that
All right.
happened to be the total that you were at the
All right.
last time. But you own this number.
Yeah,
so
okay,
you do
good.
Whatever you want with
It's
it.
the one number we own. It's the one we own.
Who recommended Bermuda? Well, I did that before.
I move that we amend Article 4 to 5,246,713.99.
I'll second that. Any further discussion on that? All those in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Okay, so we got 1 no. And I'm gonna make a motion that to recommend Article 4 as amended,
I'll second.
and we'll take a roll call on this. If there's, oh, I should say, is there any further discussion on that? All right, roll call on that. John,
Yes.
Ellie,
No,
Stephen,
Yes.
Sal,
Yes.
Mike Reese.
Yes.
Mike Sampson,
Yes.
Karen,
no,
and I'm a yes. All right,
6-2.
While we're at it, is there anything you'd like us to modify, Karen? Get your vote?
Did we get to 6-2 on that?
I got
it's the same as
questions
before,
about
yeah. It
the
is.
transfer station that I never really.
Yeah, yeah, thank you. Yeah,
Have a concern About. Why we're not sending recyclables to Portland and where we got more money for that, and. I just have concerns about. And if we're voting on the transfer station and and the select board hasn't decided what they're gonna do about it. And so, you know, what is what is our operation, the transfer station ready look like, and I'm gonna vote on that. And so that portion of the budget really bothers me, and so that's why I voted no.
Okay. So Article 20, to see if the town will vote to raise and appropriate sum of $15,000 for the revaluation capital reserve fund.
Move to recommend.
Okay.
Any discussion? No? All right, we'll proceed to vote. John,
Yes.
Ellie,
yeah,
Stephen,
Yes.
Sal,
Yes.
Mike Reese, Mike Sampson,
Yes.
Karen,
Yes.
and I'm a yes.
okay,
Yes.
8-0. Yep. Article 21, to see if the town will vote to raise and appropriate 40,000 to be added to the Bridge Capital Reserve Fund. All right, I'll second that. Any discussion, Ellie?
yeah, I need to have my number refreshed on this, because we also put money in the operating budget for this, which is something we don't normally do. We usually only just keep it all in the can. So are we double counting bridges? So I think it's like $21,900.
Big Ellie, that's for the, good, Jack, why don't you
Carrie Ann?
That's the,
carry
For
on?
the temporary bridge, we're paying $1,800 a month to rent it, where the bridge capital reserve is for the 3 bridges that need to be repaired.
okay, so we're not double counting them. Okay.
Is that the one that's over on Grist Mill
Yeah.
Hill Road now?
Potato Road and what else? The transfer station, what else?
There's no hill road.
Well, I thought you, Carrie Ann said that was already.
No, it's just, no, just the temporary bridge that's on Bristol Hill. It's not the repair and replacement.
Oh. Okay.
Mike's got-
Mike?
Oh, okay, okay.
There's a rumor running around town that the bridge costs the town $125,000, $150,000.
I mean,
No, it's not accurate.
no, it's not accurate.
Good.
We paid, I think, 18,000 to install it, I can't remember.
Yeah, I haven't seen an invoice yet, but you told me it was 18,000 for the install.
Yeah,
then-
and that's $1,800 a month, so it'll likely be there for 3 years. Because we still have to do the design and all that other work, so that's basically.
It's not- no.
So we don't get a match from the state into the temporary bridge.
No.
Oh, is that what
No,
the deal?
we get nothing, it's all on us.
Okay.
Yeah.
Oh, great. Any other comments, questions? All right, let's vote. John?
Yes.
Ellie?
Yeah.
Stephen?
Yes.
Sal?
Yes,
Mike Reese?
Yes.
Mike Sampson?
Yes.
Karen?
Yes.
And I'm a yes. All right. Article 22, to see if the town will vote to raise and appropriate 23,000 to be added to the government buildings capital reserve fund.
move to recommend.
So this is the third one dealing with government, or, yeah, okay.
Yeah, yeah.
Normally we put 50,000 in, we're reducing that this year by taking trying to close out those
Right,
granted funds and putting it in. So just. So the difference is 27, what?
How can you do that? You know,
We're doing it in that article back.
but it says it was coming out of those, the house and going into the middle.
going into that
Article
one.
17.
Listed, so.
Good work,
Oh,
solid.
no.
He thought it was a good idea anyway, it doesn't matter where it's going.
Yeah.
Just call it out as a good idea, where the money goes.
Yeah, I'll second that. Any further discussion on this? All right, we'll go ahead and vote. John,
Yes.
Ellie,
No.
Stephen,
Yes.
Sal,
Yes,
Mike Reese,
Yes.
Mike Sampson,
Yes.
Karen,
Yes.
and I'm a yes. All right, moving on to the petition articles. Allow me to get on my soapbox that I completely disagree with state law requiring the budget committee and the select board to give opinions on petitioned articles, so I will always abstain to these. Feel like it's up to the legislature, which is the people, to decide for themselves whether they want to fund these, and so that's my soapbox, and I'll be done, so that's why I'll be abstaining. All right, Article 23 by petition to raise and appropriate $4,590 to support West Central Behavioral Health.
Move. Second.
All right, any discussion? All right. We'll go for a vote.
I don't understand your objection.
My objection is that these are petition warrant articles.
Yeah.
Yeah, and they're putting them out there because they're charitable nonprofits. They're outside of our budget. They weren't put up by the select board of the elected representatives. And I don't feel as though it's our place to make the decision, to make a recommendation for the people of the town who can vote. You know, I may like some charities, I may not like others. It's not my place to tell you which ones to like.
You not object to them being there for people that decide to vote.
No, in fact, I was on the committee when we chose to pull them out of the general fund budget and put them as warrant articles because we were constantly stuffing them in the budget and just asking people to vote on a bottom line. I think this is more transparent. So I like the approach. I just don't like the state law that says we have to recommend or not recommend. That's all. So. All right, so moving, John,
Yes.
Ellie,
No,
Stephen,
Yes.
Mark, oh, sorry, is that
Okay,
Sal,
yes,
Mike Reese,
Abstain.
Mike Sampson,
No,
Karen,
Yes.
and I abstain. All right.
so let's see, how full.
what you get there?
Yeah. One, two, three,
4, 2, and 2.
4, 2, and 2.
No, yes, I vote yes.
What was it? What was the vote?
4, 2, and 2 is what I got. Is that what everybody has?
Yep, 4, 2, and 2.
I voted no.
Oh, Mike Sampson, okay,
So that's a,
4, 2, and 2, so it failed. Oh, wait a minute.
no, I think it passes because the 2 abstentions don't count. Yeah,
We recommend or not.
we recommend, they're not added to the total right.
So it's basically 4, 2.
for, yeah.
All we're gonna do is note the votes in favor, the number of in favor, the number opposed, and the number of abstentions.
Okay,
To
so
recommend,
4, 2, 2.
So-
yes, no, or abstain from the recommendation.
Correct.
All right,
Now, in past years, there's been words in there that says the select board does not recommend, the planning board does not recommend. So you're not gonna go that way this year, you're just gonna give the.
Well, I don't know, you have to kind of tell me what the history is, because obviously I don't know.
Well, that's the
So,
history, it's up to the
yeah,
selectmen.
you mean if it wasn't a majority, if it was a tie, it would. You,
it would be a do not recommend, does not
Yeah.
recommend, yeah.
You didn't used to have to put the,
okay,
So you put the vote and then you put those recommend.
yeah,
Vote.
yeah, they changed the law a number of years ago, and I think we had to vote on it actually, because it used to be the school would say, do recommend or not, because you give a tally. And at some point, we voted on both the school and the town to put in the tally, the vote tally.
so do you want the
So Mike,
numeric vote in
Jack,
with the conclusion that they don't recommend, or you just want
recommends
to?
or not recommend?
Right, yeah.
With the tally of the votes?
Yeah.
The tally vote.
Okay,
That's
Yeah, we voted on it.
okay, I understand.
But my understanding, back to this point, and I think we had this discussion last year, if you have, in this case, 4 yeses, 2 nos, and 2 abstentions, I believe that's a recommend. isn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah,
I would say so,
Yeah.
arithmetically.
Yeah.
yeah, you don't count them, I think if I remember correctly.
You don't add the abstentions to the negative vote.
Yeah, so that's,
I think you have, from what I remember now, jogging my memory, I think if I remember correctly, the abstentions count like you weren't here.
exactly.
Okay.
Yeah.
Because it's not a vote on either
Right.
a yay or a nay.
Exactly. Okay,
Yeah, that always confuses me.
24.
on to 24, by petition, to raise and appropriate $13,500 for the Grafton County Senior Citizens Council.
Move to recommend,
Second,
Any discussion? John,
yes,
Ellie,
No,
Stephen,
Yes.
Sal,
yes,
Mike Reese,
Abstain.
Mike Sampson,
Yes,
Karen,
Yes,
and I abstain. All right, moving on.
What was the count?
5, 1, and 2,
Yes.
is that right?
Yes.
Yep.
Yep. All right, Article 25, by petition, to appropriate $2,910 to support Public Health Council of the Upper Valley.
Move the motion.
second,
Any discussion? All right, we'll go to a vote. John,
yes,
Ellie,
no,
Stephen,
Yes.
Sal,
yes,
Mike Reese,
Abstain.
Mike Sampson,
yes,
Karen,
yes,
and I abstain.
5, 1, and 2.
Article 26, raise and appropriate the sum of $10,000 to support dental services at Mascoma Community Health Center.
aim to recommend,
second,
All right, any discussion? All right, we'll vote. John,
yes,
Ellie,
no,
Stephen,
No.
Sal,
no,
Mike Reese,
Yes.
Mike Sampson,
abstain,
Karen,
yes,
and I abstain.
3, 3, 2,
What was that?
3, 3, and 2.
Not recommended.
no, wait a minute. Yeah, okay, yeah.
It was using the new map.
The new man.
3, 3, and 2. I can give you this one.
Davis Freeze, oh, you're doing it?
Yep.
The number there. Who was the third? Davis Freeze, no.
That's a no.
Karen, no is Stephen, Ellie, and Sal.
Okay, thank you.
And extensions of Dave and Mike Sampson.
All right. Article 27, to raise and appropriate $7,588 for the operation of Tri-County Community Action Program.
Move to recommend.
Second.
Any discussion? All right, we'll vote. John,
Yes.
Ellie,
No,
Stephen,
Yes,
Sal,
Yes.
Mike Reese,
Abstain.
Mike Sampson,
Yes.
Karen,
Yes.
and I abstain.
5, 1, 2.
Yep. All right, Article 28 by petition, to see if the town will vote to raise and appropriate the sum of $2,100 to support WISE.
Motion to recommend.
Second.
Any discussion? All right, we'll vote. John,
Yes.
Ellie,
no,
Stephen,
yes,
Sal,
Yes.
Mike Reese,
Abstain.
Mike Sampson,
Yes.
Karen Wolf,
Yes.
and I am an abstain.
are we going to do again?
Oh, last page.
That's
Wait, oh, yeah.
Almost.
Before we finish, shouldn't these, in the past, these typically have had the tax impact outlined on them also?
Yeah, we can certainly do that again. I wasn't, that's
Yeah, no, I
what
agree.
we're practice here with the petition warrant articles. It's not part of the
Yeah.
budget.
They're all pretty small numbers, but it
Yeah.
seems to be.
We can certainly do that.
Article 29, to see if the town will raise and appropriate $10,135 for advanced transit.
We'll move it.
Second.
Any discussion?
You moving the bus?
Yeah, move it up.
Move the bus.
Under the bus.
No discussion? We'll vote. John,
Yes.
Ellie,
No,
Stephen,
yes,
Sal,
Yes.
Mike Reese,
Abstain.
Mike Sampson,
Yes.
Karen,
Yes.
and I abstain.
5, 1, 2.
All right, Article 30.
no, but that's all.
Oh, yeah, all right.
Thank God.
We don't want to get involved in these personnel issues.
Oh, I didn't even know. You want to make it an elected position again?
Somebody.
vote up, we got-
petition to do that.
No, not today. Yeah, because there'll just be special bond, there'll be bond articles. After we have a special town meeting, the commission have a special town meeting.
So this is what, next week's public hearing will be on?
This is part of that, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, and it's mostly information because it's not a legally noticed public hearing because we didn't get the feedback from the department.
So that's my thought.
Yeah,
So it's
but-
well under the same rule, we have a special meeting.
Right.
Okay, right.
But that we want to make sure the public understands that these two projects are coming, that they'll ripen in the summer and we're gonna petition for a special town meeting in order to preserve receiving $1.47 million and 780,000. Otherwise, the money could go away, and that's not helpful.
Chump change.
So if- I have about this, is if this is gonna be during the summer, can people vote by absentee ballot on this, just like other things?
I have no idea.
Because a lot of people probably won't be here. And then there might be other people that are.
Well,
But some of the warrant articles are,
I think since it's a town meeting, my bet is you have to be present to win. But
oh, It has to be like a formal in-person thing then and not
Well, it's
ballot.
you have to count some ballots. I
Oh,
don't.
all right. Something you said that. Oh, okay.
We're gonna leave that up to our attorneys and the Grafton Superior Court.
All right, before we adjourn, so tomorrow night, 7:30, same place is the public hearing. And for those of you who've done this before, or for those of you who haven't done this before, we generally come with the print out a copy of the budget. And so Carrie, I could, or you or Jack, or could somebody bring some copies tomorrow?
How many do you think you'd like?
600.
Well, you all want.
We all want
How
one.
many people usually come to the public hearings? I don't know.
Two.
Depends. Yeah, what do you think? Like 25 copies? 25 copies? And what we do is we kind of break it up and each one of us takes certain sections. And I asked Ellie to pull up what we had from last year and I'll make some changes and I'll send it out as an email tomorrow and I'll also bring a copy. And it's quite simple. You just kind of walk through the line, the sections and read the total. Pretty light lift. So I don't have that for tonight, but I'll just send it out tomorrow if that's all right. Yes, Mike?
Yeah, before you adjourn, I just wanna list these numbers, total appropriations. Of $6,046,313.43. Anticipated revenues, $2,019,875. Not covered by non-taxes. That must be covered by taxes is $4,026,438. Increases, the rate increases by $2.26. Up from $6.56 by another $2.26. And that represents a 34.4% increase in the tax rate.
Philip?
Quick thing. The 99,000 that's in the revenue report for the sale of the Cozy Corner. My understanding is you're supposed to have a warrant article putting that into a specific fund to save that money.
Next year, on the advice of the auditors and attorney, next year.
And what was the reason for that?
The reason is there's not enough money in the unassigned fund balance to make the transfer
Oh,
where it was sitting.
Okay, good,
okay.
awesome.
Does that answer your question, Philip? Do you have,
Well, I thought we had to have a special, I thought we had to vote on it again.
You will. When,
just not this
Well,
year?
maybe you could do it as special too, because
good,
it sounds like they haven't calculated what you add in at the end of the year.
right.
So it's probably gonna be closer to 800,000 or 900,000.
All right. Anything further? I'll entertain a motion to adjourn.
Second.
All right, all those in favor?
Aye.
Aye, opposed? All right, thank you, everybody.
Nobody wants to stay.